Hi, I'm Lars Christiansen. I want to give you a tour of the Orange Lodge in Barkway, Ontario. So in 2017, I bought the Orange Lodge. It hadn't been used in about 35 years. And I got it on a tax sale actually, and I was pleased to do so. It was a bit of a surprise at first to find out what it was, but I discovered it had some incredible historical value to it. And the community around here of Barkway just has so many stories, and it's part of the heart of Barkway. So let's just go inside and see what I've done since 2017. So when I got the lodge, there was no lock on the door, and there was also no handle. So I did put a lock on the door, and I needed a handle. So I took a limb off of that Austrian pine. It was a dead limb, so I cut it off of that, and it had a bit of a kind of a gnarly angle on it, which I thought was fun. And I just screwed it in here. So that's the handle, and it works quite well for me. Let's go inside. So when I originally got the lodge, there was a lot of paneling in here. There was a lot of stuff in here. It was really stuffy and kind of moldy in here. The paneling on the inside had to be completely removed because it was really just full of kind of mold and mildew. So I took it down to the original layer, where was the first layer that was actually built when they built this place. The whole lodge is made of hemlock, an amazing wood that even when it gets wet, very much like cedar, it holds its integrity. So the building is solid. Let's take a look at the original layer. It's up here actually. So as you can see, the crown molding on the top is actually just a paper. So it's wallpaper, and then along here there was also wallpaper that went in. This stuff is really thick, but essentially they just put shiplap. This is all hemlock shiplap on the walls, shiplap, and as you can see over here, they just put shiplap up, and then they just put this paper on the wall. And then from there, another layer went on, and another layer, and eventually, probably in the 70s, another layer. And I took all those layers off. And I unfortunately had to throw them all out because they were pretty moldy. But I did keep some of the crown molding that was on here. Sorry, the wainscoting that was on here, that was tongue and groove, and it's over here. So this stuff was painted blue by someone at some point in time, and some of you watching or listening to this will remember this color. I'm going to try and use it at some point for something, but it's going to have to be planed down and cleaned up because it's got a little bit of the moldish, mildewy kind of smell in it. I had to take the ceiling out as well. As you can see, it's wide open. All of the tongue and groove up there was also really had a lot of the kind of mildewy mold smell in there, and the dust that came down from there was ancient and thick. So it was an interesting process to rip the ceiling down. And as you can see, those beams are solid 2x10, just solid pieces of wood, and it's all hemlock. It's a remarkable construction. And the construction of this is actually balloon framing, if some of you know what that means. In about, I think this building was built in 1911, and before 1911 balloon framing was a maybe not common type of framing, but people did do balloon framing when they wanted 2 stories, but it stopped. I think this is probably maybe the last building or one of the last buildings built in Ontario that was balloon framed.
So it's not designated, but it's the first step towards designation eventually, potentially.
I would like to go there.
Would you?
Most
Well, that's
certainly.
interesting to hear that. Interesting to hear that, yeah.
Let's continue our tour, Janet. You wanted to tell some stories.
Well, I was just going to say, when I come in here, I hear music in my head. Because we had square dances, we had parties, we had anniversaries, we had showers. I went to the one-room schoolhouse until they built the new school, which is the co-op in '62. So then I went to grade 7 and 8. So all our concerts were here. Anything to do with the community at all happened here. So if there was a dance, there'd be, you have to visualize just benches along the wall. That's where all the women sat.
Wallflower.
Yeah. And all the ladies would bring the 6-quart baskets full of sandwiches, you know, salmon, egg salad, same old sandwiches, right? And then we'd have a dance. There'd be musicians up here. There was a piano in the corner right there. It seemed much bigger when I was a kid. I have to admit. And Wes and Florence Redmond lived across the road. Wes was certainly a staunch Orangeman. So as Lars said, stove was back there. So at some point, Florence would have made the huge couple pots of tea, and she'd carry it over and put it on the stove. And when you square dance, you always hope that maybe your square was up here and not beside the wood stove because it was so hot. And again, Christmas concerts, always a big Christmas tree. And in those days, you know, some of our teachers were 17, 18 years old. So anyway, lots of stories, you know, food, parties. It was just weird. So when the co-op became a co-op or a community center, I was so thrilled because now it's a gathering place.
It's
So-
the new place.
Now, I just have to say, and you know, Michael certainly can help me with this. Our community was united, Free Methodist way back. Anglican, we have our Anglican, when we do our tour, we're going to go in that church. But there was a very Free Methodist in Huzzy Rapids where there still is. So sometimes people will say, you didn't get along with communities, and I'd say, oh no, that's so not true. I was raised on a farm up the road, and my dad helped them, and they helped each other. Anyway, that's a little bit of my stories.
All right. Well, Janet, why don't you lead us upstairs?
I know, I always get nervous when I go upstairs.
Just
For
don't
both.
forget the password.
Yeah, for both. So this was a woodshed. When, that's the only thing I remember it being used, because, you know, you have to have the dry wood, right? You didn't.
Overflow
you never-
changing rooms.
You never,
Yeah.
You know, this.
The first time I thought these stairs would give out, but they're so solid.
Yeah, they really are. That corner had to be rebuilt, but,
I see that.
and I've got a railing here that I put in.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah.
I just think this up here would be a nice little party room.
So you can smell the age. It's thick board. It's quite remarkable.
It's so huge. Like I had no concept of how, you know, really how much space was up here.
In the secret spot.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
you know what? And actually, we'll go back and we'll see the art.
Part of the secret.
The secret. So there was this great art that was here that we'll see. It's in the other room. And then there was the main desk here where the Grand Poobah would sit with his hammer and do the blah, blah, blah. You know how that would go, I imagine. And then these little things, when I got here, these were all positioned on the stage. So that I imagine the secretary would sit here and the vice Grand Poobah would sit here and whatever, and then the other members. And back in here, these cupboards were full of books and other things and stuff. And Janet, you've got all that stuff. So I've got new paneling. It's gone up. There's no more leaking in the roof. Oh, and Janet, by the way, just to let you know, because I know that it like almost broke your heart to see the windows open all winter. But I had double screen on.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
So
but
The
I
snow didn't
told.
come in.
Yeah, no, the snow
So
didn't come in. No water.
You can't tell from the outside.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I thought you lost your mind.
No, I know. Well, you know, it's about once a year, you know. So, yeah, if you guys want to take a look in here, you can see the archway that's in there, the original archway. So I can just show you the footprint. You see this part here and this part here, there's that paint on it. So there was this great archway that went up and over. And when I came in here, all of the walls were white, tongue and groove. And all of these things were up here, and there was this great archway. And it was true because I was a little like, this is kind of like a church, but it's not. It's got a completely different vibe. And I wasn't sure what it was. But, you know, I found it was the Orange Lodge, but
So this archway's gone.
no, no,
It's in
all
here,
kinds
you
of-
have it.
yeah, it's back there. It's in there. It's in the room. You can take a look, Jen. Yeah, it is. It's quite remarkable.
You don't have your phone, do you, with your light?
So,
It's safe in there, Janet.
No, there was a picture being taken.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, here's the arch. Mary.
If you put a steel roof on this, it would be on the ground.
yeah.
It would be. So miraculously, it did not leak for all of those years, except for there and there. And I got it before it tore the place apart. So I just put new roofing beams in and tarred it up. So it's, it's not leaking
And it's
anymore.
not lifting or anything.
No,
Like sometimes with the old steel roofs, sometimes the nails are, or is it?
Yeah.
Is it nailed or screwed?
it's nailed in.
So they're not popping.
No, they're not. It's still pretty solid. It doesn't leak anywhere else.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is quite remarkable. It's kind of,
So that's why it's here. The roof is the most important part of the building.
yes. Yeah, and I think that this, it definitely wouldn't be standing if they hadn't have put the steel roof on it about 60 years ago. So,
Sorry, Laura, it's just from this one picture we're looking at, because I know the people in it, this roof's been on at least 70 years.
yeah, there you go. And that's a steel roof,
Yeah.
right? So the roof's been here for 70 years.
So based on your position, I'll bet you stood behind them. In the society, you stood in the smaller one
yes.
or the bigger one,
Most certainly.
and then the arch, and
Yeah.
the most important in the middle.
The guy in the leader or
Grand
whoever.
poobah in the middle.
The grand poobah, yeah.
Yeah.
We all know that term, right? And then there were 3 levels of paneling here. This which went in originally, and then there was another layer of paneling that went on, and then another layer on top of that, and I think it probably went in the 70s. So it was just full of mildew and mold, and it was just in everything. So I decided to just take it all out. And it went out that window in the wood bin.
So everybody knows the Weisenmiller's in Ballot, right?
Yes.
So there used to be a mill on Germania Lake, which was Weisenmiller's Lake.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering, and I absolutely don't know this, whether this was done out of a plane, because somebody had to plane this, right?
Oh, no, that was rough cut.
Is it rough cut?
Yeah, it's just went through the bandsaw.
Oh, okay.
All of this wood the trees just went through the bandsaw. And that was it. And then it just came in, and all of this stuff, it's right out of the bandsaw. It wasn't plain. But they would have, well, the Orangemen were a large, they were across the country in this time. So they would have had a lot of resource. And all of the other Orange lodges, well, I've read online and I've seen one of them, had this exact construction.
No, I think but I would think the wood came from here.
Oh, most certainly.
So that's what I'm thinking, I'm not sure that they would, I don't know, Barry, do you think that they would have, the small people would have had something that could have?
They would have, I believe the way I see it is the Orangemen came in here, the people in the community, the Orangemen, and they were Orangemen here, and they wanted to start this lodge.
Oh, yeah, I've got
So they
that
reached out
listed.
to their greater, society and said, hey, we need the resources, just like if the Catholic Church wanted to build a church. The Catholic, church and as a whole would put the money towards building the church. So I believe that the larger organization of the Orangemen, the Orangemen, probably ended up giving them the resources, and or maybe they brought a portable bandsaw in, a wood mill.
Talking 1910 though.
Yeah, whatever that would look like. They might
Might
have
have
milled
brought it
the wood
maybe from
somewhere else.
Bracebridge or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yes, and you can see that it's,
It's weird.
yes. What shall we do with it?
You should take it
What shall we do with it?
Oh, yeah, I
so
can
that
tell.
someone can put something to it.
Like, someone already has.
Yes.
The other one?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yes.
So that's interesting, so you've got the eye. That's new,
Like
that's new,
glass
that's new, that's
preservation.
new.
Is it the only one?
Interesting.
It's you've looked at all the windows, and it's the only
Yeah,
one.
she's got that. Actually, this is
Yeah, you
even
can see
an
it
old
very
one. This is a new one,
I know.
but this is original.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good, so
Isn't
yeah,
that
So you'll take it out,
yes,
please.
yes, ma'am. I love it.
Take
You're
it
so
out and
excited
then
about the
go
glass.
with it.
I just took a
Yeah.
little trip into the corner.
Bye.
Yeah.
I have plans this afternoon, but it is. It's quite noticeable. Going down in there. It's been
So
working.
now this, it's interesting how this was built. This chimney
Yes.
is a very old school way of building a chimney. The chimney does not go down to the ground. It goes down to the first floor and then is sitting on a ledge, and it's actually sitting on the wood. That whole chimney is sitting on some wood. So if I'm going to, I mean, I need to keep it standing. I don't think it'll ever be used again as a chimney, but I want to keep it as part of the structure of the
So are
building.
you referring to the weight? I mean, the weight of the structure there has to be supported. Is
Yes.
that the reason?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be for heating purposes that the chimney would go down to the bottom, would it be?
No,
No.
no,
No.
it's just the fact
So
that
it's,
this
you
has
need to support that much brickwork.
but all the way down.
Yeah.
So, but then, as we go downstairs, you'll see, it actually is, it's actually on a ledge on the wall.
So the wood isn't supporting it then?
Well,
Or it is?
must
It has to be?
I think maybe
So that's-
some of it, half of it is supported, maybe it goes down to the foundation.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure, but I remember having someone here that knew about that type of construction, and they had a name for that type of chimney. But they said that it was miraculous, it was still standing, because they said they all fall. So, yeah, we need to get, like, you know, has to be an expert or a mason.
Could be one of your biggest interventions
Yes.
to save that chimney.
Yes, absolutely.
So some
Well, we're finding that. Let's watch this for you. What does this signify?
Well, we thought it meant these.
Right.
It's a path.
Like you had to walk here and
Oh,
then
yeah.
stand here and then address the council and say, you know, whatever, I am this guy, state this and thank you, maybe seated, and then they would go and, you know, and sit.
August the 12th, I was just talking with Barry Brook, or the day that they march in Northern Ireland,
Oh,
or Ireland
I
even.
don't know.
I think it's August the
Is
12th.
the date there? So
Barry was suggesting that.
well, they would have the marches here.
Yeah, there was a photo Jan showed us from there of the marching.
I've got.
July 12th, July 12th. So I'm not sure that there's
Hundreds of members and their families, the Muskoka,
yeah.
20 lodges, they had a parade.
Was it the Battle of the Boyne? I
Oh, I
think
don't
the
know.
reason for the July
Right,
12th
right,
was the Protestant victory over the Catholics in
Right.
Ireland. I think it was the Battle of the Boyne.
I'm sure you're driven like Brock Street.
Yes. That problem.
Hey, your eyes have to adjust. Oh, wow.
July the 12th.
I'll show you
It's
the-
written in the article there.
Well, that's why I'm thinking that could be the store.
Right.
And this, and then my great grandfather lived in a house right down at the corner.
So my
Here.
would have to be over in the other street.
But this looks, well, I know it's not, it's a very old picture, but look, this looks like a very modern bungalow kind of thing.
It looks like it's on.
Well, the reason,
Yeah, might have been an outbuilding from,
I've got these, I
you
was
know what
just
it
so
is?
impressed with
It
that
might
right now.
be- This
There
is
it is.
also an
Anyway,
outbuilding. It
so-
just,
Possible.
it just looks
When
so
I think,
modern.
You know, I do have the spirit that I want to show you.
So it must be something.